2.
Bird to your mother, it's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just some high-flying wren, fast vertical stems, and professors from Penn watching eagles eat and pray like Pazookies on birthdays. It's Philadelphia, Marissa, Bo, and Zach kicking it. Cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some
Birds with Friends.
The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some
Birds with Friends.
Marissa, Bo, and Zach are here to squawk. Don't miss the mistress talk on some.
I don't call it the off-season. I call it the non-playing season.
Is that what you say when people, normies ask you about what you do in the off-season? You say it's not the off-season, it's the non-playing season?
I don't correct them, but I'll call it the non-playing season.
Okay.
I'll feel like there's the playing season.
The NPO.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends on a Wednesday afternoon. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, just the two of us here to talk about the Eagles, the first episode post-Osprey. Zach, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to see you. I remarked to Emily earlier that we're doing a pod today. It's technically PTO for me, but I said this is just hanging out with friends, right? This is me getting together with Bo.
Not just someone bothering you with a text message work related, but having to actually do an entire podcast.
Yeah, but I view this as like having fun, right? There's other stuff I'm doing with my day, and this is the same as us getting lunch, right? I see you on the screen, we engage, probably make fun of me about a few things. So It's a good way to spend a Wednesday in June.
PTO for you is paid time on. You want to just do the fun stuff that you like to do.
Yeah, I mean, I did.
Might not make Emily so happy, but
no, I did write a story yesterday. It will come out tomorrow. I hope our listeners
also on PTO.
Take a look. What's that?
You were also on PTO yesterday when you wrote that story.
Yes. Correct.
So when are you going to take the actual PTO?
Well, it's a loaded question. There's a few weeks before training camp, and there's some stuff I'm doing on the side that is filling my time. So yeah, I'm keeping busy.
Zach, I felt like I was in something of a prank or a prison of my own making this past weekend. As I was running errands, I kept going into different stores, Target, maybe a Home Depot, maybe like a CVS or something like that. And it felt like every single store that I went into was playing a different Hall & Oates song on the stereo. And it was like, and I'm the only one sitting here singing Man Beater, or I Can't Go For That, the Nick Sirianni version. And it's like somebody was, playing a trick on me. But from now on, everywhere I go, that's what I'll be thinking about. Whenever
you think of the image you created as well?
Of course. Did you get good feedback on that image, Zach?
No, I did not. But but nonetheless, it was fun to do, and we'd be remiss if we did not recognize there's not a third box on here. Marissa is on maternity leave, and we're thinking of her. We were corresponding with her today. Do you get as bothered when she texts you out of the blue as I do, or is it only me?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Oh, we're playing that with Marissa? Okay. Well, I would say, Marissa, I am thinking of you. So,
yeah, I mean, every text I receive from her, I expect is like the big one, but that's okay.
That's what I joked the other day. Yeah.
Well, also because she sent us a picture today of some imaging of the baby.
Is that on the record?
But the words were, he looks just like Michael, and so I hadn't seen the images left, and so I was like, oh my God, this is it. But still to come.
Still to come. Looking forward to
it. Could come any day, she says, is the reporting on the street. I think I think his name was Adam. Had a listener stop me at Home Depot, give me a holy flock. That was the Birds with Friends bird pun joke that he had come prepared with. So that was pretty good.
Came prepared. I like that. What'd you get at Home Depot?
I was exchanging my propane tank for fresh propane.
Working the grill?
Working the grill. Yeah,
There you go.
it'd be nice to not to use a like a different powered grill, but ain't nobody got time for that. Got to do what you got to do. Zach, what else is going on? What's going on with the Eagles, huh? Any recent news with the Eagles over the past 14 days? My understanding is no.
No, so the Eagles are off. They are gone. As was said to me very early on during my time on this beat, when I was trying to get in touch with someone from the team, they said, if you're getting in touch with me now, it's only going to be about a bad thing. So let's let this simmer for, I don't know if they use the word simmer, but let's like take a break for a few weeks. And so that's kind of the position that the Eagles are in. Some players have scurried back home. Some players are still in the area. Hassan Reddick had a football camp on Saturday in Camden.
Devontae Smith at a softball game.
There's been a few other things that have gone on, but everyone's kind of doing their own thing right now. They report on July 24th, is the report date, the first practice, if I have that correct here. No, I'm sorry. They report July 20. I should have had that ready to go here. But they report the week of July.
If you don't know it, nobody knows it.
No, I do know it. I did not have it locked and loaded as I should have. But they report the week of July 24th. They report the camp on July 25th, which means their first practice will be July 26th. They will have one open practice for the public, and that will be Sunday, August 6th at Lincoln Financial Field.
Fantastic. All right, Zach. Well, because there's nothing going on really in the Eagles world, we open up the Quailbag, a little bird in edgewise for some Eagles-related questions. So why don't we start, Zach, with a question from, let me pull up who asked it. Good podcasting. Here we go. The question is from David. Factoring in contract, rank the top 10 Eagles in terms of trade value. And so I've got my list here. Did you make your own list?
Didn't make the list, but I did think of it.
Okay, I'm going to give you my list. You tell me if you disagree.
Okay.
So I think that contract in the NFL matters less than it does in baseball, right? Where it's about
basketball,
right. Where and especially basketball, where like in football, the player still has the leverage. If you trade for a guy who's like, he's still on a rookie contract, he's going to hold out. He's not going to play. He's not going to be happy unless he gets that new contract anyway. So I think that there's less delta to be created by like the best contract in terms of trade value.
And
so
then
for me,
in the NFL, like a bad contract prohibits a trade, right? In the NBA and MLB, you trade a contract, right? In football, you'll just cut the guy, so which you obviously can't do in other
Good
sports.
Point. So to me, number one is Jalen Hurts. It's the quarterback. There are only so many elite quarterbacks in the league. No matter if you are as low on Jalen Hurts as anybody, you still probably have him as like a top 8 quarterback, right? A top quartile quarterback, and that player has enormous value. He's still very young. I don't think there's a lot of argument there, even if the contract is eye popping to some degree. To me, number 2, and I think what colors this whole exercise obviously is you look at like contract values around the league. You're thinking, offensive tackle, wide receiver, pass rusher. Those are the main priority positions. I think AJ Brown is still number 2.
Okay, I had the other wide receiver.
Really? You think Devontae Smith would fetch more on the open market than AJ Brown?
Well, if you're factoring in,
if they both hit
contract
tomorrow,
yeah. So Devontae, you have under contract for 3 more years at a very affordable cap. Or I'm sorry, 2 more years at a very affordable cap number. And then you have that 5th-year option, so team control for 3 more years. But you're looking at like the cap number this year is 5.4. Cap numbers next year is 6.4. In a trade situation, I
think after this year, he's probably getting paid next year.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. So I was just thinking like AJ, he already got here he got paid. You're taking on the contract. He's not old by any means, right? He's 25, right? Or thereabouts. But I think Devontae, because of the age, I'm sorry, because of the contract, I went with Devontae number 2. You're still getting him on that rookie deal.
You could sell me also on AJ Brown has like a little bit of an injury history. And so like, especially his style of play, you could be a little bit concerned that it might not hold up in the long term. Devontae Smith seems like a guy who, like, I'm more confident that Devontae Smith is going to be really good in 4 years than I am that AJ Brown is going to be really good in 4 years, probably. But I think AJ Brown is a true elite, like, changes your offense entirely, number one receiver, whereas I don't think Devontae Smith is quite at that level yet.
Sure.
And I
to your point,
on the open market, I think he would go for more.
Yeah, to your point, AJ already fetched the number 17 pick and an additional pick, and that was before he had the best season of his career, right? So yeah, there is validity to that.
I think you could. I'm willing to listen to that argument, but I do have AJ Brown ahead of him, and I actually have Devontae Smith at 4 because I have Jordan Mailata at 3.
Okay. I actually, I had AJ at 3, and I had Mailata at 5.
Interesting. Okay.
I see what you're saying with Mailata, but
it's just the age and the left tackle. Yeah. It's like if he hit the open market, he would make more than I think my number 5 would, and he's a guy who just got paid by the Eagles anyway. I don't know. I just think that's Hassan Reddick, who I have.
Yeah, who is my number 4.
Right.
Yeah. Hassan Reddick's my number 4. I'll give you my spiel. I think the Eagles got him at a below market deal because obviously he was not doing this. Well, he did it back-to-back years, but now he's done it 3 years in a row. I think if he hit the open market right now, he'd be a $20 million a year player. And, the Eagles got him for less than that. He'd potentially be even higher. He's a complete game changer. And I think age, position, and contract value, I have Reddick up there.
I'm just like the Orlando Brown contract and the Jawan Taylor contracts. I think Jordan Mailata is a better player than both of those guys, and he's also younger. Although actually Taylor might be about the same age or younger. It's splitting hairs, but I would guess because of the age that Mailata would go for a little bit more. Number 6, and I think there's a drop off here. Number 6 to me is the player who is probably the best player on the team and plays an important position, but he's 33 years old. But I think if a team came calling, like let's say the Eagles season, for whatever reason, went completely off the rails and a Super Bowl contender had just lost their starting right tackle, I think they'd be willing to pay a whole heck of a lot for Lane Johnson and more than the other guys who are good and young on this Eagles roster.
I had Jalen Carter here.
Interesting.
Jalen Carter was just, he just went number 9 in the draft, in a draft when he might have been the number 2, 3, or 4 pick, depending on, like if the off the field issues weren't there. Premium position, young player. You have him 5 years on a rookie contract. I think the Eagles could fetch a load for him.
Well, I think the exercise is context independent, right? Because if this was a real life situation and like word leaked that Jalen Carter was available for trade, he would have no value because it was this was a guy with character concerns, and now all of a sudden the Eagles want to unload him right away. Like he would be worth nothing. Not nothing, but he'd be worth very little. But if the idea is like, what is their value?
Yeah,
I can see your point. And I have him at 8, only because there are a lot of concerns about him, and he is still unproven. And even the best, rookie draft picks are coming in with a lot of questions about how they're actually going to look in the NFL. And we'll get to another question on Jalen Carter in a bit, but because he hasn't proven anything, and because he comes in with these question marks, I think Lane Johnson would go for a little bit more. And I have one other player who I have ahead of him. Where did you have Lane?
Actually,
you didn't do it 1 to 10. Okay.
No, I had the 10 guys. I didn't have Lane on here because
Interesting.
I didn't think that like a team's trading for I don't know. I didn't think the Eagles were trading. I suppose I should have had Lane. I just took all the older guys off the list, honestly.
Yeah, I understand.
I just looked at everything like
I have
30 and
most of
under.
the older guys on the list. The Lane is the only one I don't.
Yeah.
Because he's still playing at such an elite level, and because it's such an important position. Like I think if a team, let's say the Eagles got a huge offer for Lane Johnson, and then they want so that they could draft Paris Johnson in the first round, right? And you flip it that way. I think a team would have given up a first round pick for Lane Johnson, or at least a high second.
Yeah, so I guess the best comparison would be Von Miller being traded, right?
That's a good one.
And Von Miller, top of the league at his position, he was traded for a second and third round pick. Now he was a pending free agent, so the contract situation is different. But
mid-season,
yeah, that's probably the comp you were
that's
looking
a good
at.
comp.
But I went with only 30 and under players on here.
Okay.
Or under.
So for me, number 7, one spot ahead of Jalen Carter, and I would be willing to flip-flop these two, but I have your boy, Josh Sweat, at number 7, which is a contract that is not a great deal. Like he's getting paid for basically what he is, but the position is in such need and is of such importance that I think that Josh Sweat would be, he's a premium player at a premium position at a good age. So he would.
I don't want to spend 20 minutes. I don't want to spend 20 minutes on the first question, but I'll push back.
Well, the truth is we don't have a ton of questions, so it's going to be all right.
If Josh Sweat was a free agent this offseason, what contract is he getting?
I mean, I don't know the specifics. I think he's
getting a much bigger deal than what he got, I think.
I don't know if he's getting a ton more.
What's that?
I don't know if he's getting a ton more.
You don't think so?
What are his give me the specs.
He got $40 million. He got a 3-year extension worth $40 million. Up to $42 million.
How much guaranteed?
How much guaranteed? 26.92 total guaranteed. 14.92 guaranteed at signing, 26.92 total guaranteed.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he would make a little bit more than that.
I think he's getting like, 5 for 80.
Yeah, but he's no Jalen Carter for you.
Well, because Jalen Carter, you have
but he has actually proven it.
True.
Okay, that's fair. And then I have 4 guys in the mix at the bottom, but really 3. At number 9, I go Dallas Goedert. Only this low because it's not a super premium position, and he is sneaky old. He's 28 years old. But I think he's one of the few difference-making tight ends in the league. And then at 10, my wild card is Milton Williams.
Oh, all right. I have a guy on this list you didn't mention, unless I wasn't listening to you.
It's possible well, that's definitely on the table, but it's possible I missed somebody. I have Milton Williams at number 10. I think a player who is a premium position potential and a lot of upside, still young, has shown enough as a pro that there would be some buyers.
Did you mention Landon Dickerson?
Landon Dickerson's my number 11.
Okay. Landon Dickerson to me, he was a high second round pick who he's already outperformed there. Reliable starter at guard, can potentially play other spots for you. I mean, if I look at this, if Landon Dickerson was on the free agent market, what would he make? And he would make over 10 million, right? So, I think
probably
Landon
enough.
Dickerson would fetch more than Milton Williams. I think if you can get enough for Milton Williams, trade him now.
Trade him now? How dare you? This team was built along the line, Zach. I think Landon Dickerson, I only have him a spot behind because he's an interior offensive lineman and he has an injury history. I mean, it's true that in the exact same draft he went ahead of Milton Williams, so maybe that's what I should have gone with. And he's already played. He's already played at a Pro Bowl level. But I'm siding with the defensive lineman over the guard.
So wait, so what can you get for him if Adam Schefter floated? The Eagles aren't making calls, but they'll listen to deals for Milton Williams. They really like the way Jalen Carter is progressing. They need to open up more playing time. If that tweet comes out, what's the team offering?
I think you're probably I think you're talking me into having Landon over him, because I think you might be right that if you were trading Landon Dickerson, you would expect a second back, and you would probably expect an early third back for Milton Williams. So maybe you're right, but I would rather trade more for Milton Williams than Landon Dickerson.
I'm just saying that if Milton Williams has
you
that
might be
value
right.
on the open market, and I'm Howie Roseman, I'm saying like he might be your fourth defensive tackle this year, right? You got Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox. If you can get good value for Milton Williams, I would trade Milton Williams.
Well, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I think their whole defensive philosophy is built upon not trading Milton Williams. But I mean, if you get bowled over by an offer, I don't know. Yeah. You're talking me into a little bit of maybe Landon Dickerson over Milton Williams, but here we are.
That was a good draft for the Eagles, huh?
I mean, don't tell Tom Donna.
3 of them are on the list.
That's true.
Yeah.
But that's what you would expect. I mean, the draft is volatile, but you would hope that 3 or 2.5 years later, your first, second, and third round picks would be some of the 10 most valuable players on your team.
The 2020 draft yielded the franchise quarterback and 2 guys who might not be on the team this year, right? So,
at best,
yeah.
But I mean, the 2021 draft, who knows? None of them played last year, except for Reed Blankenship.
The 22.
Yeah,
draft.
sorry, 22.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good first question, Zach. Off to a roaring start here in the post Marissa era. We move to
It's not the post Marissa era. Just the, if a player gets injured and they're out, it's not the post that player era. It's just that we're making up for, we're making do while she's gone. She's coming back.
Do, good pun.
That was not purposeful.
Zach, the question from Big Mike McD. He wants to know if you could go on a weekend trip with any player or coach during the offseason, who would it be, where would you go, and what would you do? And he says, extra clarification for you, Friday to Sunday, no families, just you and the person. And I'm giving you an extra clarification, whether or not it was the intention of Mike's question. You are not allowed to write about this experience.
All right. That right there was not part of this, because my answer was obviously I take a weekend with Jalen Hurts. Access with the franchise quarterback is what I would want.
And then I was trying to pick the purpose of the question.
But here, let me play this out here, because I was thinking.
All right, let's say if you are doing a Jalen Hurts story, what would you do?
Yeah. So the Jalen, a weekend in Vegas with Jalen, I don't know if it'll be as fun as it would be with a different player, right? With Lane Johnson in Vegas or something like that. I'm thinking with Jalen Hurts, I would want to go to NBA All-Star Weekend, right? And with him, because to me, Jalen Hurts is such an alpha. He's the man in the room. What's he like in a room where it's like the biggest stars in sports? You got LeBron over there, you got Steph Curry over there, you got Giannis, you got Wembanyama. That's a little play on tomorrow night there. You got Joel Embiid. You got the big international superstars here. That's what NBA stars are. What's Jalen like in that room? Is who's the one who is who's gravitating to whom? Right? Are the players coming to Jalen, or is Jalen going to them? I'd be fascinated by that dynamic.
Okay, that's a good one. But if you couldn't answer that way and you had to answer in the spirit of the question, what would you say?
I mean, I haven't really. I thought about it. I thought the spirit of the question is I could have a weekend, and I'm a reporter. I'm spending them like a guy's weekend with one of these guys.
I think that's what he's trying to ask.
I'll let you answer. I will let you answer there.
Well, you have to answer after, but you can think about it while I answer.
Okay.
I think like the chalk answer is Jason Kelsey. And I think, that would be fun. Having some drinks with Jason Kelsey, that'd be a good time.
That's not what I thought for you.
My answer is going to actually be Jake Elliott.
That's what I was thinking for you. A golf weekend with you. You're a golfer? Yeah.
Yeah, but not just golf. We're going to be playing some golf. We're going to be playing some ping pong. We're going to be, playing some softball. We're going to be doing all kinds of. I want to test myself against the best hand-eye coordinated athlete on the team, and we've got like a decathlon of games going on over the course of the weekend.
So I'm going off the board here. Okay. I'm going with the Sloan Sports Conference weekend with Howie Roseman. Okay. Howie's going to pick some good restaurants, so I know I'm going to eat well. All right.
I might poison you.
And, you got all, he's around other GMs or maybe not the Sloan Sports Conference because they're not getting as many GMs there. I'm thinking of a place where there's other GMs, right? I want ideas bouncing off walls. I want like the percolation of team building philosophies here. Even if I'm not reporting, it'll make me more informed, right? So let's say NBA draft weekend or something like that, or the baseball winter meeting, something like that with Howie.
I think 100% sincerely, it is so endearing that you do not have the ability to flip the switch off. And it's the same as you're working on back-to-back days on your PTO. That's what makes you so good.
Well, thank you. But no, I think that's interesting to me. Like I'm fascinated by team building. I'm fascinated by finding ways to get better, by learning new ideas. So yeah, any place I can do that. I don't mind a weekend in Vegas, right? Who'd be the best at the blackjack table?
I don't know. You tell me.
The team.
You're the Vegas guy.
Yeah, you really didn't like that Vegas trip 2 years ago. You were very anti. You're very anti-Vegas.
I'm not anti-Vegas. It's a little overrated to me.
To me, Vegas has good restaurants, good recreation. It's a walkable city. So yeah, sign me up for Vegas.
It's not a walkable city. It's a walkable strip.
Well, in essence, yeah, there's you don't need to rent a car is my point.
Okay. All right.
Claire says Vegas is a terrible way. Claire, I so appreciate your loyal listening, but Vegas is not a terrible waste of a city.
I don't think she's far off. All right, Zach, let's take a little break, hear from some sponsors. Back with more Quailbag questions on the other side here on Birds with Friends. I'm now to talk to you about the winners of the 2023 Osprey Award for Baby You Flutter My Bread. You know we're talking about Roan, baby. They buttered our bread. Now it's time to return the favor. Ugh, I can't tell you how perfect that polo I got from Roan is. It looks good, it's comfortable, it's breathable, it's everything you want. There's a product for every occasion too. Roan helps you get ready for any occasion with the Commuter Collection, which offers the world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, and polos. You never have to worry about what to wear when you have the Roan Commuter Collection. Roan's comfortable 4-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way, from your commute to work to your 18 holes of golf. With Roan's wrinkle release technology, wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the products. It's that easy. And that's not the only technology they're using. They've also got the Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, so you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Roan is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. They won the Ospreys for a reason, people. The Commuter Collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to roan.com/BWF and use promo code BWF to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/BWF and use code BWF. It's time to find your corner office comfort. Busy lives these days, especially in the summer, and you can't afford to waste a day stuck on the couch because of a few drinks the night before. Well, Z-Biotics is the answer we've all been looking for. Of course, longtime Birds with Friends listeners know that we call Z-Biotics ZB-Iotics, but that's just as a nod to the Berman. And if Zach's going to unwind with a drink or two at the end of the day, you know that he's got a busy morning. He is a morning guy. So maybe the thing for him to do would be to take some Z-Biotics ahead of time, set himself up for success. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut, where you need it the most. Just remember to drink Z-Biotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Order Z-Biotics now to get it in time for the 4th of July weekend. Go to zbiotics.com/BWF to get 15% off your first order when you use BWF at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using our code so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. Z-Biotics is backed with 100% money-back guarantee, so if you are unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/BWF and use the code BWF at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode. All right, back on Birds with Friends, Bo and Zach. Now we do have a producer today. We are not completely producerless. We got Killer Cam in the mix, and I just want to warn everybody, a much better voice than either of the two of us. Listen to the dulcet tones of Cam. How are you, Cam?
That's debatable. It's the mic, I promise. But gentlemen, it's awesome to be on, and great listener questions. Really enjoying the show so far.
Now, we cannot necessarily confirm nor deny that you'll be with us for the long haul here this season. We're still working those things through, but give us like one good piece of Cam information for our listeners to glom onto.
Oh, I'm a longtime Eagles fan. I don't claim to be an educated Eagles fan, but I've been watching I'm an early on bandwagon Eagles fan, probably since 2005 after the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl. But I'm a Kansas native, so I'm sure that's going to get a lot of distaste and decries from the comment section. But I have not so much disavowed the Chiefs, but I definitely lean Eagles, and hopefully they're right back in the Super Bowl, but this upcoming season, but win it this time.
Well, Cam, welcome to the Birds with Friends family. We're happy to have you.
Awesome. Appreciate it, gentlemen.
All right. Zach, next question coming from Slim. And he wants to talk about injuries. He says one topic that has come up often this offseason is the injury luck that the Eagles benefited from in 2022. How much of their health last season do you attribute to the methods that have been implemented in the name of improved health as opposed to luck?
I don't dismiss them, right? Because they're not doing it out of the blue. They're doing it with research and development and science behind it. So I need to attribute that to some of it. Now, the flip side to that, I was reading a quote the other day from Jason Kelsey in 2020 when he was asked about his consecutive game streak that he was on then. And he mentioned how luck's a big factor in that you can't control if a guy falls on your leg. I mean, in his second season in the league, they're playing against Baltimore. Terrence Cody, Ed Reed fall on his leg, torn ACL, out for the year, right? So you can't control the broken bone, the torn ACL, those injuries that just happen playing a collision sport.
Ruptured spleen, lacerated spleen, rather.
What you try to mitigate are the soft tissue injuries, and the Eagles, to their credit, have been effective doing that. Now, was last year an outlier? I imagine so. It would surprise me if they can go back-to-back years remaining as healthy as they were last season. But the formula that they had in training camp, in the offseason program, I need to give them the benefit of the doubt for now because I've seen it work.
Yeah, I think it's impossible to parse how much is luck versus how much is design. I think I would guess that the Eagles internally are, expecting a reversion here. They were third in Football Outsiders adjusted games lost last year. They were also 12th the year before. So they're probably due for some bad luck on sort of the fluky things that you were talking about, Zach. But I also think that it is true that so much that they do is in order to maximize whatever percentages that they can get in terms of warding off those soft tissue injuries. So part of the reason that they didn't have a mini camp after playing into February is for this reason. Part of the reason that their training camp is structured the way it is, where it's 2 days of practice, 1 day off, or green days, yellow days, however they structure it. And that is all based on like the body science that they're doing and the player tracking that they're doing and seeing if guys, speeds are changing or anything else like that. So I think they deserve credit for that, because in this sport especially, it's hugely important. As the adage goes, availability is the best ability is availability. But I also think it's as Howie Roseman said himself, it would be sort of naive to expect them to remain as healthy as they are. And that gets to another question about, where have they improved this offseason that we can get to. But I think it's hard to parse exactly what it is, but they're doing a good job at it. And they're also probably going to be more unlucky this year.
All said.
There we go. So the question, Zach, that I referred to is from Somya. What position is the biggest upgrade from last year, and what is the biggest downgrade? And I don't know if there's any position on the roster that they are definitely better than last year.
Yeah, so I was thinking that if you dismiss internal upgrades, right, like a player just being better last year,
I don't dismiss that. I don't dismiss that.
Well, so if I was thinking of in terms of additions, the only position that I could give you is cornerback, because I think Gritty Williams he's been a starter in this league, good age profile, right? It's not like you're bringing in a 32-year-old former starter. I think Healy Ringo has potential that you can develop. He was a starter on a top defense in college football. And like Zach McPherson, who was their third corner last year, he's now getting work in the slot because they have more depth at the position. But it was almost process of elimination there, because that's the only position I can point to where I could say they made tangible external upgrades.
Yeah, I don't think that they're better at corner, because at the top, they're older.
Okay, so
Darius
you think regression
and James
from
Bradbury were both, for their age, unnaturally healthy last year. I think you're expecting probably that to not be the case this year. And even if they are healthy, you're expecting regression in their quality of play because they're over 30. I don't expect them to be better at corner. I think they are. And the question is, where are they most worse? I would say linebacker is probably the answer.
Yes.
Just on paper, I think you could make a case.
Or safety. I think
safety. Yeah, you can make a case for safety. So there's no argument there. I think along the defensive line, they're worse. You were hoping that they're going to be able to like tread water, and that Jalen Carter and improvements from Jordan Davis can help recreate the production of Javon Hargrave. I think on the edge, maybe you could make a case that they're about the same.
Better. Oh no, I think better on the edge. I think you can expect an uptick, or I don't know if an uptick in production, but Reddick year 2 here, although a new defensive coordinator, Josh Sweat, continues to improve. You add Nolan Smith. They were getting nothing from Robert Quinn. I don't expect Derek Barnett to be part of this team, but in essence, you get Barnett back. You have more numbers there going into camp than you had at the end of last season.
I think it depends on Nolan Smith, because I don't think you can expect Brandon Graham to be the same. And I don't think you can expect Hassan Reddick to be quite as good as he was last year, but maybe that's short-sighted. On the other side of the ball, I am not going to, discount the possibility of Jalen Hurts taking another leap and being even better than he was last year, but I'm certainly not counting on that. Wide receiver looks just as good as it was last year, but I think similarly, you're sort of waiting for another shoe to drop injury-wise. You hope to avoid that, and they didn't really do much to improve the rest of the roster. I don't think that, Olamide Zaccheaus makes them all of a sudden better at wide receiver. I think tight end you could make a case for potentially just because it's all young guys improving. Depends on Goddard's health. Offensive line, I don't think you can say they're better because Kelsey and Lane Johnson are older, and you're replacing Isaac Seumalo with an unknown quantity. I actually think the place where they might be the most better
I was thinking of this.
Is running back because of the depth. I think you could tell me that Rashad Penny plus DeAndre Swift and hoping for a slight improvement from Kenny Gainwell is an improvement on Miles Sanders as the lead.
I agree. And I mean, you can convince me that in a vacuum, DeAndre Swift is a better player than Miles Sanders.
I don't know about that, but I don't know if he's a real running back.
That's gonna be a fun mid-August conversation.
So yeah, I have high expectations for the Eagles, as does everybody. But I don't think there are any guarantees that this team's going to be nearly as good as they were last year. I don't know. I don't want to be Debbie Downer in June, but
I mean, they were so good last year, right? So it's hard to sustain that. So I don't think that's a crazy take.
Zach Killicow wants to know if you have any tips for a first-time homeowner.
I thought of this question, and there's a lot of directions you can go here, and perhaps this isn't much different than renting, but this is the recommendation I would give is that on your first day you own the home. Okay.
Find the biggest, meanest looking person in the neighborhood and punch him in the nose.
No, go to whether it's CVS or Walgreens or Walmart or Target, or Amazon.com, wherever you get your batteries, and get a big thing of D batteries. Okay, and keep them handy because
D's nuts.
Those smoke detectors are going to go off, and they're never going to go off I hope they don't go off. I mean, the batteries are going to go out, and if you're
smoking as much as you do, then they're going to be going off.
The batteries never start to chirp, or the smoke detector never starts to chirp at 8 a.m. or 6 p.m. It is always 2 a.m, right? And it's usually at like a bad time.
That's a good one.
And if you don't have that, if you don't have those batteries, then you look unresourceful, unhelpful. I can tell you from experience, it's hard sometimes to find the 24-hour pharmacy. And where I used to live, the batteries were behind the they were like in a locked thing. So I would go to the 24-hour pharmacy in the middle of the night trying to get D batteries. And if you're the guy at like 3 a.m. who's getting the attendant to unlock the thing for you to get D batteries, that attendant's not very happy with you then, right? So so I would say be prepared for the smoke detector to chime.
That's a good one. We had one of the apartments we used to rent in the city. Huge flex here, had like very high ceilings. It was above a dance studio, and we had the smoke detector going off like for a week because we couldn't reach it. We couldn't get up there. We had to like keep waiting for the landlord to bring us a ladder. It was like we just lived our life with the beeping in the background.
But I'm saying when you are renting, you can sometimes defer that to the landlord.
Yes, exactly. Right.
When you're owning, that's on you. So
right. Let me see my my advice. You know what came in handy when we first moved in? I don't know what kind of a house we're talking about. We did the like sort of the appliance insurance for the first year because like there were a bunch of things, or actually for the first 2 years, because there were a bunch of things that were like just ready to go. And so it wasn't the quickest fix, but it did save some money when the dryer broke and then the hot water heater broke. That was good.
There you go.
Okay. Next up, Zach. Question from Big Mike McD all over the place here. What are your honest expectations, and what do you hope to see from Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith this year?
So I don't think it's unrealistic to expect Jalen Carter to be the top defensive tackle on the team by the end of the year.
Wow.
And I know that might be ambitious, but I think when you talk about the type of talent that he is,
The top defensive lineman?
defensive tackle.
Defensive
like,
tackle, okay.
Between Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, for Jalen Carter to be taking the most snaps in the first playoff game, let's say.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
I think he's that type of talent. I don't think it happens day one, but I've seen this story before. I saw Fletcher Cox's rookie year when like they slow played it. Derek Landry was ahead of him. Colin Jenkins was ahead of him. And that was a bad year, right? They were 4-12. But by the end of that year, it was so clear that Fletcher Cox needed to play a lot. And I think it's going to be very clear by the end of the year that Jalen Carter needs to play a lot. I just think he's that type of talent. And as long as, the shape is there, he's in the necessary shape and the want to and all that, I just think he's going to be a premium player. And Nolan Smith, realistic expectation.
Do you have any, quickly on Jalen Carter, aside from, becoming the number one defensive tackle, do you have any sort of statistical benchmarks that you're looking for?
It's hard at that position, right? He wasn't a heavy sack producer in college. So I'm not going to say double-digit sacks, but let's say 4.5 sacks.
4.5
going over
sacks.
Or under?
I'm going under.
You're going under.
Do you know, Zach, which defensive tackle had the most sacks for a rookie last season?
You're putting me on the spot here.
You don't have to know the answer.
I don't know the answer, no.
Do you want to guess what the number was? The answer is Logan Hall.
Ah, okay.
From the Bucks. 2.5 sacks. That was the most for rookie last year.
Yeah.
I think
I would go under.
I think 3.5 sacks.
Yeah. Okay.
10 quarterback hits, something like that would be nice. Just to quickly go through the playing time rotation for defensive tackles last year to sort of set expectations. Fletcher Cox, 65%. Javon Hargrave, 64% of the snaps. Milton Williams, 36% of the snaps. This surprised me. Marlon Tuipulotu, 21% of the snaps. Tui played more snaps than Jordan Davis and Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. Davis was 20%, Linval 17, Suh 16. I would say I think you're right that you want to see the arc of the season turn things into Jalen Carter is looking like a premium player by the end of the year. I think realistically you would hope that he's playing 50 to 55% of the snaps, and the 64% that Hargrave played last year is dispersed between Carter and then more snaps for Milton Williams and Jordan Davis. And I think you want to see the flashes, and you want to see that he's bringing some real interior pass rush presence that the Eagles don't have without Javon Hargrave.
Yeah, to follow up on that, defense tackles played 2,660 snaps last year. Okay, so you say how is that pot going to be divided? And I thought you illustrated it well there, but I can see Cox taking fewer snaps. I can you obviously don't have Suh's presence. If you think the Joseph snaps are just going to go to Davis, right? The Marlon T snaps are probably going to go to Davis. So I see an uptick with Milton Williams, but I don't think it's out of the question that Jalen Carter is pushing 60% of the snaps.
I don't think it's out of the question.
Yeah.
But we got to see it. He didn't even do that in college, right?
True.
So we'll see. How about Nolan Smith?
I'll let you go first here.
Well, this is it's interesting here because it's going to be curious to see if they want to find a way to get Hassan Reddick and Nolan Smith on the field at the same time. And I think his impact is going to rely on them wanting to do that, because you look at last year's snap dispersion, Hassan Reddick played 74% of the snaps. Patrick Johnson played 19, right? So there were not a lot of times when they were on the field at the same time, nor would you expect there to be. They don't need to find a way to get Patrick Johnson on the field. I would expect that they probably want Hassan Reddick to play about the same. There were a lot of games when he was pulled at the end. And he didn't play in week 17 or week 18 rather. So I think you're probably only expecting Nolan Smith to play about 20 to 25% of the snaps. You want to see a little bit of flashing of some pass rush juice. you tell me like 2.5 sacks, it's probably fine. As long as he looks comfortable out there and they're able to, maybe if they're able to have them on the field at the same time and feel comfortable in pass coverage.
Yeah, and then the other thing to account for there is like you said earlier, if they don't get the same health from their top edge rushers, if Hassan Reddick's not playing 17 games next year, then obviously Nolan Smith, his playing time jumps up in that case just because of the type of player he is fitting that role.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Zach, I had a question from a DM about the Flyers.
Dropping in your DMs. I like this.
Yeah, somebody, John, dropped into my DMs and said, the Flyers have hired a bunch of former Flyers for front office roles recently. Which former Eagles could you see taking front office roles? Now, the Eagles have several former Eagles already in the front office, right? They have Brent Selleck and Darren Sproles and Connor Barwin. They have had Brian Dawkins in the past.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that there's a difference. Some of those roles are a little bit more ceremonial. I think the Selleck and Sproles are of that variety, and they call them in when there's certain expertise that they'd like handed. I think Connor Barwin is much more involved than those other guys. I think Brian Dawkins. I think there, as we reported about, there was maybe a bit of a disagreement about how ceremonial that job was. I think Brian Dawkins had legitimate aspirations, and I think they were not necessarily willing to placate that. Mm-hmm. Who else comes to mind for you that could be, whether they're currently former players or active players who you think could potentially have a role with the Eagles moving forward?
Well, so you mentioned Barwin. I think Barwin's the one best positioned, obviously, to be on that track. He's full time in the building. He's very involved in the day-to-day operations of the team. I think Darren Sproles has really put in work to try to learn the scouting side of things, right? And I think so I could see that. I think Malcolm Jenkins is. I don't think that's something he's going to pursue. I
have a bit of a list here that I want to run by you. Malcolm was not on the list only because he has too many other interests. Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, but I think he's a real.
You could say the same about Barwin.
I think he's a real sharp mind for football. You give me your list, and obviously this question was in your DM, so I didn't get a chance to think.
Yeah, I didn't send it to you ahead of time.
Yeah,
I do agree that in terms of thinking the game and having good opinions on the game, Malcolm would be sort of at the top of my list. But I find it hard to believe that it's what he would want to do with his post-playing career. All right, I have a couple guys of different levels here. One player who 100% will have a job in the organization, whatever he wants to do when he retires, is Brandon Graham. I don't know, it's not going to be. I don't think he's going to be on the GM track. But if he wants to show up and be a hype man, or do whatever he wants, they will give him a paycheck in perpetuity. Like the Selleck route.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing if he wanted something for Nick Foles.
Okay. I can see that.
Okay. Now we go to players of higher status who probably would not necessarily be interested in this, but if they did, I think the Eagles would give them a coaching job or whatever they want. And two guys here. One is Jason Peters. I don't know if you could, he's already served that role for so many, younger offensive linemen that I think if he wanted to have a formal role, they would absolutely welcome him in. And the other is Zach Ertz. I think Zach Ertz sees things on offense that they could put to use, and the way that he runs routes could be of use. Now, then I have three lower level players who I think could get into coaching. Okay. And I was trying to think about guys who might make sense.
So this is coaching, not GM.
This is coaching now. But it could be front office, could be just the way they see the game. One of them, Nate Sudfeld.
Okay. I can see that. Backup
quarterback. It's an easy one to pick off. Obviously a guy who people like having around. He must see something that are interesting. Greg Ward.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I did this for a mailbag question. I was going to say Greg Ward.
I
Go
remember
on.
that. And then my last one, a little bit more off the board. Patrick Robinson.
Interesting. Okay. Why so?
Well, he's been a lot of places.
Mhm.
I think he's succeeded where he's succeeded because of his football intelligence. I think he would have some interesting things to say. I think he sees the game the right way.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think Greg Ward's the right one for coach. I mean, he's been described as, coach on the field. And Kobe Dean's been described the same way. Greg Ward, I think with a coach sometimes it's really beneficial to understand the game from the perspective of like the journeyman or the practice squad guy, not the top of the roster. And what I mean
Except
by
for
that is
D'Amico Ryans, though.
yeah, but it's hard to expect like players to play at that level, right? You heard that sometimes with Steve Nash, and you really identify with different players in the locker room when you're like Greg Ward, when you're someone he's been in different systems. So I can see Greg Ward from the coaching perspective. As far as former Eagles too, you look around the league. Chad Hall is on that track now. I mean, Mike Kafka's on that track now. Those are guys that come to mind. Mike Caldwell on that track now. Those are like coaches. As far as former Eagles players who are scouts or who are in front offices, I would need to do a little more work there.
Ben Igelana. I guess he never played for the Eagles.
He never played for the Eagles. Yeah, I would say him. He's a scout for the Eagles. A Northeast guy there.
Jaquan Jarrett is in a front office.
There you go. Okay.
I think it's more of like a player relations capacity.
Gotcha. And then the last thing you could look at is like guys who are in the NFL's league office. Sometimes you see the league. It's like Troy Vincent could be a team president one day, right? And have his hands in football. You could see
John Runyon.
John Runyon. Yeah. I see Cousin Grace in the chat says Chris Long, future Eagles pro. I think Chris Long can do anything in football, right? He sees the game well. But I think
he would say the same for Kelsey, but it's the same. Like, why would Kelsey?
He's got a good thing. Exactly.
Slum it on working for the team when he could be making millions as a broadcaster.
Exactly. So,
all right. Anything else you want to get to, Zach? We got a shot here to have started on time and end around an hour.
Which would be wonderful. No, I think, like I said, quiet time for the Eagles right now. NBA draft tomorrow night. College World Series. Like? Paying attention to that?
Of course, I'm paying attention. I'm living and dying with every pitch.
What do you think of the
game
Deeks
tonight? Love the Deeks. Great team.
The NBA draft tomorrow night. I mean, obviously,
what's your take?
Awesome.
What's the one take that you want to have as Zach's take? And don't tell me like I think Wembanyama is going to be great.
Yeah. So outside of Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson, who I really like.
You like Scoot as number 2 over Brandon Miller?
I do, and typically like I would lean toward the 6'9" guy because it's harder to find size that can shoot. Right. It's if you're going to take a guard in the top 3, he needs to be like a special type of player. But I think this is a special type of player right here in Scoot. But of the like outside of the top 3, the guy who jumps out to me, who's kind of undervalued, is Anthony Black. And Anthony Black from Arkansas. I'm a sucker for like the 6'6", 6'7" point guard. But he's really smart with the ball. I like guys who have control of the court. Halliburton had that when he was at Iowa State. And you see that with Anthony Brown. And I understand that there's a lot of like evaluations that have gone wrong when he said if he can only work on a shot. But if he can work on a shot, so much else is there with his game that I really like Anthony Black.
Okay. That's the one we're gonna hang. We're gonna remember that one. That's gonna be our Zach take of the year, and we'll follow that one over the next decade.
Claire Flaxman has a question here that I think is right up Bo's alley. Should I read it? I have an important
not gonna
question.
read it.
Who is going to ask Nicholas Morrow if he ever read the Kid Teenage series where there is a character named Nicholas Morrow? I think that's a Wolf's Den right there.
Not if I didn't come up with it.
You can't
That's
take
not
ideas.
how it works. That's not how
Okay.
it works. Not for the Wolf's Den.
You can't take. Okay.
No,
What-
absolutely not.
What good podcasts have you listened to recently?
I've been mostly listening to Doughboys and No Laying Up over the past week or so.
Yeah.
That's about what I've been
Gotcha.
doing. Yeah,
I
nothing
listen to
big. What
different
about
ones.
you?
So I got a good one for you. And this isn't like a backhanded compliment. It's just one I think you might enjoy. The Plain English podcast.
Like Peter Principled white guy is going to tell me all the ways to live my life.
Plain English podcast on procrastination. I think is a valuable one or an interesting one, I should say.
What and how so?
Well, you should take it because you've talked in the past about how you like to procrastinate or you tend to procrastinate.
Of course.
And this goes in the science behind the procrastination.
Okay. I think if I wasn't a procrastinator, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Well, you're in a good spot. So
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
The other, I've been meaning to tell the story on the podcast. This happened like a month ago. We were at the playground. There was an event for school, and it was like a Thursday day event, the weekend of Memorial Day weekend, right? And so that meant there was going to be no school on Monday, and one family was going out of town. And I heard one person say to the other person, "Oh yeah, we're leaving. So see you next Tuesday." And then the other person responded completely, like normally and sincerely, with no awareness of the phrase that had just been said or what she was about to say. She said, "Oh yeah, see you next Tuesday." And I'm just sitting here like looking around. Am I the only one who's witnessing this interaction? Am I the only one who like doesn't have a mature brain that I can't just let this go? And like two people saying "see you next Tuesday" to each other. And I've told that story since. I think other people are on my side, but
no, I'm on the
very
other
very
side
weird
there.
to just see that happen organically. And so maybe we'll have an episode next Tuesday, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Good way to close the show.
All right.
I'm on the other person's side. If we scheduled a pod for Tuesday, I would probably say that. I would probably say that innocently without thinking otherwise. So.
Yeah, better people than me. That's what I could say. All right.
So another PTO show next week, huh?
Well, if you're on PTO, we do not have to do it. What's your PTO schedule, Zach?
There's some stuff I'd rather not get into right now. That I'm doing,
interesting.
but have some stuff I'm working on during PTO, and I have teaching the class.
Doesn't sound like PTO.
No, but and then I'm teaching the class. Got 3 weeks. Actually, this is the Wolf week. Wolf and Aditi are this week. I've already gotten some really good comments on my interview with you. That came out this week, but 3 weeks left in the course, and then have some stuff that I'm working on right now on the side that I'm excited about. So, yeah,
get that OnlyFans going. No better time than the present.
All right, I don't appreciate that joke.
All right, well, that'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. For Zach and Cam, we thank you for listening and watching. We will talk to you at some point again. Who knows when? Whenever Zach's not on PTO and I'm not on PTO. So
I'm fine doing it. It's
maybe in like a
corresponding
month
with you. Yeah.
Okay, we'll figure it out. We'll be back at some point. So for all of us here at Birds with Friends, thanks for listening. And as always, we love you.